I don't really know how this is gonna go. We're gonna see how this is gonna go. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Michaela. Today I want to talk about being black at a PWI. PWI stands for predominantly white institution. It's literally where there's a bunch of white people in a school and very little POC. It was one of the most soul-crushing things of my entire lifetime. Drained me to the point where I was working so hard to build myself back up or not. The way I got the idea for this video is I saw a tweet, I'm gonna put it probably here or something. Black parents, a rich all-white school isn't always a better situation for your black child. Very few black children walk away from these institutions whole and psychologically intact. And in my case, that was very much true. I grew up at that school. I literally was there from the ages 5 to 17. That's a whole 13 years. I'm not gonna lie, I did have really good experiences there, but a lot of the experiences were very negative, whether or not I realized it until I left. A lot of people were racist, a lot of people were microaggressive, a lot of people didn't really comprehend what race was. I do want to say that I don't necessarily think that everyone who did impact my psychological well-being in a negative way had malicious intent. It was mainly just the environment they grew up in and just things that they probably heard and not understanding why it was problematic to be saying those things. Ignorance is understandable to an extent, but at the same time, Google's free. You can easily look up why the things you're saying is just not okay. So for 13 years I was just dealing with racism and microaggression on the low. Fun. There are 3 black kids in my class alone up until freshman year, and then 2 other black kids came in high school. That was that alone is sad. We had a small class. It's not it was a big school and that wasn't the amount, but at the same time it's kind of just that's a little sad. It's a little embarrassing. It's a little embarrassing. Basically, I would come from an affluent Caribbean black neighborhood. People who had the same, who were like me ethnically, who looked like me physically, and then I would take the train to Manhattan and I would be around people who looked literally nothing like me. I didn't live like these people, you know what I mean? I lived completely different. That's why New York is the way that it is, because not everyone lives the same, not everyone looks the same, and that's the beauty of it. But at the same time, it was really detrimental and harmful to me because these people wouldn't really understand things about class and money. I could literally pinpoint the times where people would ask me about my scholarships, and I'm just why? I literally, I think it was a matter of twice that are really sticking in my head. One time I went to my school's camp and we were going into 5th grade, and I can see the image in my head. I can see exactly how the setup was. Other than that, I was we were sitting at a table, a long table with our with our camp shirts. We were just sitting and doing activities and talking. It was the middle of the day. We weren't even getting picked up yet. And this kid was I don't know why, I don't know where this came from. I don't know why he had the guts to ask me, why he had the balls to ask me this question, but he did. One kid asked me oh, you're on scholarship, right? And I was out of the blue, in front of a bunch of our friends, just randomly. We weren't even talking about that. I literally showed up to the table and I just got bombarded with this question. They were oh, you're on scholarship, right? And I was what are you talking about? Mind you, I wasn't aware of financial anything, anything with money, anything about tuition. I just knew that I went to the school. That's it. And they was oh, you're on scholarship, right? And I was what are you talking about? And they're oh, no, you're on scholarship, you can't pay for the school, right? And I'm still sitting there, I'm I don't know what you're talking about, bro, I don't know what you're talking, because I didn't know what he was talking about. I was confused. I was huh? Mind you, we were 10. I answered because I didn't know what he was talking about. I said no, I'm not. And then they moved on and said, oh, it must be the other. And then they realized what they were saying, and then they stopped themselves and said it must be someone else, because the next words that were going to come out of his mouth were must be the black kid. The fact that you're equating black with poor and unable to pay for education is kind of embarrassing and sad. And I'm just no child should be going up to their classmates and asking them that question. It's not even we were old and able to talk about finances like that. We were 9 and 10 years old. There is no reason why you should be asking me about my financial situation, how I can pay for the school, scholarships and stuff like that. What the hell? Can we just enjoy camp? Damn. Anyways, that put a wrench in my day. I was shit. People ask me about my business. Stay out. In 8th grade, we got to apply for the scholarship, and basically like the scholarship would award you 4 years of free high school at that school specifically, and like a bunch of people were applying to it. There were, I think, like 3 rounds maybe. But there are 3 rounds, but the only 2 rounds I remember were like you write an essay and then you have an interview. A lot of it also is based on like academic achievement, and like I was a smart kid. Like I'm not gonna like I was a smart kid. I had good grades, so like I was able to like apply for that and, you know, be one of the finalists. So basically we had to write 2 essays. One of the essays were like, who inspires you? The second question was like something about like what's an instance that like made you like push through, like something was like, you know, those like classic questions that are like, oh, like what's a situation you like push through, something like that, like those kind of questions. It was that question. And I remember some kid in my class went up to me and was like, why are you applying for the scholarship if you already have a scholarship? Like that's kind of selfish. Mind you, I have never ever and still to this day, I've only spoken about my financial situation with a select amount of people. So for them to just assume that because I was black, because I didn't live in Manhattan, I didn't look like them, that I was on a scholarship, I wasn't paying for the school already, it's just rude. That's so microaggressive. I was sitting there, I was like, why would you ask me that? Why? What in your mind told you that it was okay to ask me that question? You know what I mean? Like, don't be like, let's not be coming at people and asking them why they need the scholarship, why they do this and that. It's not for you to decide. It's not for you to question. Just go do your part and see if you can get it as well. You know, right? Like this is not your business. That really pissed me off. And I put that in my essay because I was like, why the hell is she asking me this question? I said, that really like irked me, and that made me just feel like I have to like prove myself a little bit, because I don't know why people are up in my business talking to me about this. Like, stay in your lane. People also didn't understand what I meant. I didn't have money. Like sometimes I just wouldn't be able to pay for something. Like it couldn't comprehend. They're like, what do you mean you don't have money? And I'm like, I mean that I lack the green. I don't know how else to explain it. I can't pay for it. Like, I'm sorry. Anyways, I was a pretty smart kid. I went into kindergarten being able to read. Like I was in the like top learning group and stuff. Like normal. I go into 6th grade. You know how like you have to do these like random book reports, like you have to pick a book, you have to read it, and then you have to like do a book report on it. We were like 11. We were like 11, 12 years old. Like book reports didn't really change. It wasn't like the analysis that we had to do in senior year. It was literally just a book report. I guess there was a couple questions that you could answer and explaining the book, or like just like one theme, but like there was no like in-depth. So the book I picked, I thought it looked interesting. It's 11-year-old Michaela. She picked The Color of Water. Okay, if you know this book is about I think it's about a mixed kid, a black man's tribute to his white mother. Yeah, so it's about race. It's literally about race. It's a really good book. I read the required reading to do the book report. I submitted the book report. Then someone calls me in and someone says, you plagiarized. I said what? I was just writing the damn book report. Like, plagiarism, what's that? But for real, like they were accusing me hard. I did not plagiarize this book. I simply just did my book report. Like, I don't know, like I guess like I wrote like everything that the book was about and I wasn't supposed to. I don't really know if I just didn't understand the assignment, or if they just didn't like me reading, a black kid reading a book about race in a white school. Like I don't know what they expected from me. I got in trouble because they said I plagiarized when I didn't. I had to go write some weird thing about the fact that I won't plagiarize again. Like they told everyone, every like teacher, basically that I plagiarized. I did not. Came back to that class and my teacher hated me. I always felt she had some weird vendetta against me. Then I kind of just knew from there. I was like, oh, she hates me. This woman hates me. And I was like, I don't really know why. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad student. I'm not rude to authorities. I'm not rude to people in general. I'm just an 11-year-old who really wanted to read a new book that she found interesting. And like, was it a little bit advanced? 100%. But like I said, I'm an advanced reader. So like, I was able to grasp most, if not all of the book for the most part. They were basically saying like, that book is out of her like reading range. There's no way she could have read it and been able to do a report on it. She must have plagiarized XYZ. She said that she put my entire report into Google search and then Wikipedia thing came up. And I said, ma'am, y'all have always told us to never use Wikipedia. Why would I choose to do with that? Why would I choose to use Wikipedia to do my book report if y'all specifically told us not to use Wikipedia? I was like, first of all, why is it that you're putting my entire book report in a Google search in the first place? It just tells me that you don't trust what I'm saying and that you just don't think I could have comprehended this. You must think I'm stupid. I do want to say that it's not odd to question if a child is able to read a book out of their reading range, but it's literally a book about a young boy trying to find his place in a world he doesn't feel like he fits in and tries to find his identity. So no, I don't know how a young black girl in a predominantly white school could relate to that in any way. My bad. Like, I really hope she reflects on that and realizes that she tormented a student for no reason. Anyways, there are a handful of books in like English that are kind of required reading for like everyone to kind of go through, like To Kill a Mockingbird. And To Kill a Mockingbird, there's the N-word smack dead in the middle of the page, like that, it's right there, you know, it's the full N-word right there. And she let people read it. Like, no, skip over it. Like, your eyes can see it, you don't need to read it out loud. It's not a thing that's necessary. But like, I'm gonna read it just so we all know like how bad of a time it was. No. And she had the students read it too. I was like, she finessed her way out of that. She didn't read it. She had students read it. I was like, oh, okay. People were dead, like, literally saying the N-word. And if they didn't say the N-word, they would change it to Negro. And I was like, don't say that. It's like, no. That really pissed me off. I was like, y'all are just racist. Anyways. Oh my God. I almost forgot. We had a book that was called All Things Fall Apart, and everyone hated that book. Things Fall Apart. Basically, it's literally about Europe, I guess, barging into Africa as usual, and trying to, I don't know, de-savagize everyone. Everyone hated that book. Everyone said that it was a waste of time. It's actually a really good book. If people were to actually reread it and like not be racist and microaggressive, any book that had to do about like race or anything like that, people just automatically did not want to read. It was really interesting. Or anything that had to do about Africa, people didn't like. It was an automatic no. People said that book is terrible. And I was like, did you even understand like what the book was saying? I was like, y'all immediate hatred of the book is just really telling, you know what I mean? And still it's a senior year, because I remember we were reading a book in AP English, and I forgot what the book was. It's like something about white people just exploring the Congo and describing what it was like, and everyone hated that book as well. But it was very telling of who didn't like it because of the context and who didn't like it because of the way that we had to read it, you know what I mean? I didn't like it because it was tedious. It was just really tedious. I didn't like it because being told from a white man's point of view. Very annoying. People don't like it because they just didn't like reading it in the context. But y'all love Pride and Prejudice though. That book was boring. It was just a girl trying to run away from her destiny. I don't know. Like, there were a lot of racist kids there. Like, I think throughout the years, people were being like microaggressive, like silently racist, and then there are people who are just outwardly racist. Would they say it to my face? No, they wouldn't. But there are many kids who were like, I got the N-word pass, I can say it. I'm like, who did you get it from? Because it wasn't me. It wasn't my friend. So I don't know why you're trying to say the N-word around us. And you know what? They wouldn't say it. They wouldn't say the N-word around us because they knew it was wrong. They knew they shouldn't, and they knew they couldn't say it around us. But yet they would still flaunt it like they could. You have problems, issues, actual issues. I brought it up to the head of the upper school, and they were like, we can't do anything about it because it happened before. And I was like, yet they could have a whole assembly about why we shouldn't be vaping, about the fact that if you vape you'll get expelled, if we catch you vaping you'll get expelled. But they couldn't have an assembly about don't say racial slurs because they're wrong, and if you say them you will be in trouble, you know what I mean? They couldn't say that. That was the least they could have done, and they didn't do that. They didn't want to do that because freedom of speech for racial slurs. But when I said I don't like somebody, all of a sudden it's bullying. Now how that make sense? I know where your priorities lie. It's okay. Like, and y'all said it's okay. Like, y'all could make it a little announcement about that. Not one thing you could have said. Oh, okay. People call my nose and like it. They told my nose looked like an anchovy. They said food. They related me to food. Yeah, I'm like, can you shut up? Just because my nose doesn't look like yours does not mean it's not a pretty nose. It doesn't mean you have to compare it to food. Like, you need to stop. And it was not a one-time thing. Like, it was consistent. Like, I remember like an anchovy was what they would say. Anyways, I also want to say people called me an Oreo. Like, white people said I was an Oreo. I was the whitest black person. I shouldn't have to explain why that's wrong. In ninth grade, my backpack was like pulling on my hair, so like my hair like came out, and it was a really loose braid. I knew on the train that day, I said this braid is about to come out today. I didn't know when, but I knew it was about to come out, and it did. Like first period class, embarrassing. People were making the biggest deal out of it, like the biggest deal. Which I don't really understand, because y'all shed, like white people shed so much, like I will be sitting at a desk, and like the amount of strands of hair I see on the desk alone, but you don't see me pulling up to your head and be like, is this your hair? No, I just take it and I move to the side. I'm not gonna go and be like, this is your hair. But they felt like doing it to me, because whenever we would go on the street, like anywhere, it wasn't even remotely close to school, they see a braid on the street and they'd be like, is that yours? Is that your hair, Michaela? Is that your hair? What made you think that it was funny? How is it funny? And on the occasions that I didn't have my hair in braids, I had my hair like my natural hair out. It's not like my hair is straight, it's not like that. So whenever my hair would be like that, they'd touch it and they'd be like, oh, it's like a poof, oh my god, how do you get it like this? They would literally touch it like I'm a petting zoo. I was like, stop it. I don't go and I don't pet your hair randomly. How did you get it like this? It's so soft. No. And people still do it to this day. Like some people, not to me, but some people, I've seen some people be like, my hair was just touched by some random people, and I'm like, why don't y'all mind your business? With my braids as well, they would be like, is that your hair? Is that really your hair? Yes, this is my hair. If I bought it, it's mine. Why do you feel like it's okay to ask me that in the first place? Stop it. Stop. Get some help. They'd be like extension cords, as if you need to plug them in. It's not funny. You're not funny. No, like I said, like ignorance is okay to an extent, because if you genuinely don't understand, no one's ever taught you, I can get it where you're going, I can understand, but like Google's very much free. I'm done teaching people. Just like talking about social life in general, just being black in general at a PWI, you know, just like being a black being, walking in the halls, dealing with people. It was terrible. It was not a good experience. It was not fun. It was not fair. It was not dandy. We were trying to plan an after party for our prom, and people, we were suggesting places. We suggested one place. They go, that's ghetto. Mind you, I lived in this place. They were like, that's ghetto. I said, it's ghetto. They were like, it's ghetto. I was like, what do you mean by ghetto? I was like, what does ghetto mean to you? What do you mean by ghetto? And they were like, it's just sketchy. It's too far out of the way. It's too much of an inconvenience, even though I made that trek every single day to go to school. Oh, but it's too much. From then I kind of was just like, yeah, y'all are just being outwardly racist now. Like y'all just decided to like, the caps off, lids off, racism on a platter, here you go. They were literally handing it to me. Same people who would say the N-word, same people who would just be like microaggressive in general. Like they were just, I was just like, y'all need help. Y'all need assistance. Oh, one thing that the school also did not do, actually, I should say, not one mention about Black History Month. Not one mention. Nope, not a little Happy Black History Month. No sign. No nothing. They were depending on a club to do something about it. They were depending on a club to be like, Happy Black History Month, and a little activity. But the school themselves didn't want to do anything for it. This high school specifically, I don't know what they did in the middle school or the elementary school, but in the high school specifically, they did not one thing. Not one mention of it was through the entire month. And I was sitting there, I was like, this is sad. This is embarrassing. Like y'all couldn't say anything. Y'all couldn't do anything. Like I remember last year, they shot a little video about it, about Black History Month, and that was it. And I was like, y'all couldn't even do that. The bare minimum, you couldn't even do that. People never asked you to take pictures with them. Like it was never, hey, let's take a picture. It was never that. That was never it. And then when they would take pictures with you, when the occurrence came, it'd be in the worst lighting. When they would post it, it'd be in the worst filter. It'd make you look terrible, but they look good. And I was like, y'all are just embarrassing at this point. Like y'all not hiding nothing. Like one could try to make my friend say the N-word. Like fully was like saying, like trying to force her to say the N-word. Why? What is this fascination with a word that you cannot say? What I don't understand that. Even if it's in a song, if it's in a book, you're racist. Because there's no reason why your brain and your mouth should connect to even form that word. Like there's no reason. The only other reason is that you're racist. It shouldn't even be in your vocabulary. One of my friends said like the feeling of superiority and that they felt like you had to answer to them. Like when there would be issues brought up, it was like they kind of just like forced you to respond to them, and that they were always right and you were wrong no matter what. That was that. I feel like for me personally, they undermined me a lot. I wish that I realized it at that point. And even things that I did realize that were like microaggressive and racist, I felt like I couldn't even talk about because people would like often like kind of like talk over me, or like make me feel like my feelings were just like invalid and just not allowed. Anything that I said something that I was uncomfortable with, they'd be like, you're being dramatic, you're being too sensitive, XYZ. So at a certain point I just felt like I couldn't even say anything about it. No, but for real, like a lot of insecurities were like developed because of that school. Like the beauty standard and anything. The beauty standard was it was skinny, white, blonde, and brunette. That was the beauty standard. If you did not fit that mold, you're very much cast off the side. Well, I think a lot of my confidence was depleted, not only because of that, but just because of how I was treated in general in friendships. I just felt like I really didn't have a voice. People are fake, really fake there. The reason I made this video was literally just because I wanted to bring awareness to what a lot of Black kids at PWIs experience, especially growing up, because in college I feel like it's a different situation because you're able to call out people. I feel like growing up in like a high school kind of setting, it's kind of harder because you're not only battling that, but you're also battling the fact that you're a teenager and you're also trying to fit in and stuff like that, and just make sure you're not alone. So it was really difficult for me to call things out or to even realize that things were happening. After the Black Lives Matter movement started really picking up speed in May 2020, after George Floyd was murdered, I saw a lot of people that didn't say a thing. I saw people who were trying to reason with both sides. There's nothing to reason with when a man was murdered. Like, he was murdered. Well, I just realized a lot of people weren't saying anything. They were staying quiet. People are educating themselves, which is fair. You can stay quiet to educate yourself because you don't want to spread misinformation, but at the same time, spread awareness, you know what I mean? If it's not on social media, spread it through conversations. And a lot of people weren't doing that as well. People would literally try to be like, oh, well, like everyone's the same. Why are we all fighting? Because the world is racist. Every single thing is rooted in anti-Blackness. That is why that we're fighting. But I realized a lot of people weren't my friends. I stopped talking to a lot of people, which was, I think, better for my mental health in general. If you see this and you're a Black child in a PWI, even if you think that people aren't experiencing the same thing as you, they are. Like, because I'm right here, there's so many other people who have the same experience or similar experiences to what I was going through. You are not alone, and I really hope that if you're going through something like this, you find your way out of that place and you're able to love yourself. If you went to my school and you're offended, it's about you. This video is about you. You did this. If you didn't and you're a little confused, maybe educate yourself a little bit. I don't know what else to say. Like, Google is free. That's just my experience. You may have had a part in it. You may have not had a part in making this my experience. There are a lot of great people that I met at that school, a lot of people that I still keep in contact with, but a lot of people were really ignorant, didn't want to learn, didn't really care, and they ruined my grade school experience. One last thing I want to say is that I do not blame my parents for sending me to this school. I completely understand why I was afforded the privilege to have experiences and opportunities that I did. At the same time, my experience didn't need to happen the way that it did. So, oh well. Do I still go to PWI? Yes, I do. I chose that because financially it was a good choice. Also, like, academically, I just really like the school. I made a lot of new friends, people who like genuinely like love me and make me feel loved. For them, I'm really thankful. But as for that, I'm finished. Like, just do better, be better. Specifically to your Black friends, because I can't speak for all POC. Make sure that you're not doing what you did before. That's all I have to say. Be a better person, educate yourself, do it because y'all are lacking. Need some assistance, need some help. Yeah, you do. You don't have to like what I said, but it's true. Everything that I said is 100% true, and I guarantee I'm not the only person going through it. There's a lot more things that I could have talked about, but I decided to leave out because then I would be editing like hours upon hours of footage, and I just really don't have the mindset for that. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, obviously like it. Go ahead and subscribe because there's definitely more videos coming up in the near future, very near future. I appreciate you guys so much for listening. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below and I will 100% respond to them. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.